specifically for Filipino Americans in the United States. My name is Attorney Marlene Gonzalez. I'm based in Salt Lake City, Utah. I also have an office in Arizona and Manila. I have invited the president of the Utah chapter of the National Federation of Filipino American Associations, Arizona chapter. Welcome, Madame Charmel de la Cruz. Thank you for
Hi,
joining
Attorney
me.
Marlene. Thank you so much for inviting all of us. And of course, I shared this wonderful webinar to all our friends and families. And of course, our CFO, Council of Filipino Organization, leads here in Arizona. So we can actually inform our community here of this very informative webinar. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes. Yes, you're welcome. Ginagawa ko to kasi maraming concerned transition ng bagong administration. Marami tayong ine-expect at saka, marami siyang incoming President Trump will be doing a lot of things as far as immigration, and many of our Filipino immigrants will be affected. And there's a lot of news, and so it's important that a lot of people are hearing a lot of things. It's important that people are informed of their rights and their options. So I'm not just going to talk about rights, but options for Filipino Americans. I created a presentation. So this presentation is sponsored by the National Federation of Filipino American Association, federal and the Utah and Arizona chapters. I am a legal counsel for the Utah and Arizona chapters, and so I would like to help our people, but not just for those two states, but Filipinos in the United States in general. Let me share my presentation. So my law firm is U.S. Journey Immigration Services. Can you see it yet? No. I have been an immigration. Can you see my screen now? Okay. I've been an immigration lawyer for 24 years, and that's all I've been practicing is immigration law. Can you see the whole screen? Okay. My office, as I mentioned, is based in Utah, but I have offices also in Arizona and Manila. Immigration law is federal law. An attorney who's licensed anywhere in a state in the United States can represent you. An immigration lawyer can represent you in your immigration case. So I have attorneys, I have clients from different states in the United States. It doesn't matter. And also the Philippines, but there are relatives of the people who are here. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, this program is sponsored by the National Federation of Filipino American Association. Our mission is to promote the welfare and well-being of Filipinos and Filipino Americans throughout the United States by amplifying their voices, advocating on behalf of their interests, and providing resources to facilitate their empowerment. And so here we are providing you this resource for immigration information, okay? What we'll do is we'll take questions later after the presentation. And what we'd like for you to do is to send me directly your questions. Don't send it to everyone. We want this to be confidential. This is not, I'm not your attorney. This does not create an attorney-client relationship. I am merely giving you information, general information. Your case is, each case is different, and I'm not advising you on your particular case, but I will answer general questions. Okay, first let's start with foreign-born individuals in the United States. So we have a lot of people in the United States. And the people who are foreign born, they could be naturalized citizens, they could be permanent residents, they could be legal non-immigrants. These are students and workers who are here temporarily on their non-immigrant status. And then we have asylees and refugees, people who've come to the United States because they have a well-founded fear of persecution from their home country if they were to be returned based on the race, religion, national origin, membership in a particular social group, and political opinion. And also, they all can also qualify for withholding of removal. So even if they may have committed a crime, the government will not deport them because they are more likely than not to be tortured in their home countries. And then we have the undocumented. So this is what I would like to focus on. It's not, people say undocumented in general, but really we are talking about different groups of people. So let's talk about Filipino immigrants in the United States. So according to the information that is available today, as of 2021, there are 2 million Filipino immigrants residing in the United States. 4% of that 45.3 million US immigrants, making up 4% of 45.3 million US immigrants. 1 in 7 immigrants from Asia was from the Philippines. Okay. The Filipino immigrants are the fourth largest, make up the fourth largest national origin immigrant group after Mexicans, Indians, and Chinese. And I wrote the source down here. Okay, Filipino immigrants are more likely to have strong English skills and be naturalized US citizens. They're more likely to hold a college degree and have higher income. They're less likely to lack health insurance. They tend to be older than other immigrant groups. As of today, most recent estimate, there's 4.2 million of us in the United States. We make up one of the largest Asian American groups, and our population has grown because of immigration, naturalization, and because of our contribution to cultural diversity across various states, where more Filipinos are found in California, Hawaii, Texas, and New York. And I know Arizona is growing also, Arizona and Nevada. So Filipino lawful residents, most of them obtain their status through family petitions, but about a quarter obtain their status through employment preferences. Okay, that means they had an employer petition for their green cards. Now, this is what is, I guess this is what the alarm is about. This is why people are worried, because at least this is as of 2019, okay? There are approximately 370,000 Filipino immigrants who were unauthorized in the United States. That's 3% of the estimated 11 million unauthorized immigrants. As of March 31, 2023, that's just last year and a half ago, there were approximately 2,800 Filipino immigrants who are DACA recipients. So DACA recipients are kids who came here under the age of 18, and they were under 31 when DACA was announced in June of 2012. And they don't have status. They're either out of status, and in general, DACA recipients, they may have crossed the border brought by their parents. With Filipinos, we don't cross the border. We have to fly in to the United States. I have yet to hear of a Filipino who crossed the border, because in order for us to get to the United States, we usually fly in, and we usually come in with a tourist visa, student visa, some kind of visa, okay? Less than 1% of all DACA recipients are Filipinos then. Okay, so it's not a lot. But I want to talk about unlawful presence. So unlawful presence, because people talk about undocumented. Well, people who flew to the United States with their passport and their visa but they have documents. They came in with documents. It's just that they have fallen out of status. That's the difference. Somebody who crossed the border without a passport, without a visa, is undocumented. There's nothing, no documents on them. But with Filipinos, where we came in with a visa, we came in with a passport, but for those who let their visas expire and it overstayed, there are overstays. What we say in Tagalog, TNT. And actually, the Philippine government does not like to use that term anymore, but what it is overstay. So a person who crossed the border and is living here in the United States without authorization, and a person who came in with a visa but overstayed, they're both unlawfully present. Unlawfully present. And unlawful presence is a deportable offense. This is why somebody who's overstayed and doesn't have status here is deportable. Okay. So undocumented is somebody who entered without inspection. Somebody who's out of status, entered with a visa, but it's expired, they're both unlawfully present. Okay, so that is a big problem for people who do not have status. So I think it was the Council General that, was advising people to just go ahead and leave and avoid deportation. But there are consequences, and that's what I want you to know. The 3 and 10-year bars. So somebody who has been living here unlawfully in the US for more than 6 months, but less than a year, and then they leave, they cannot come back for 3 years. They're subject to the 3-year bar. So say you're a tourist and your I-94, your stay expired today, or let's see, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and now you leave, okay, but it's less than 1 year since your let's say it expired last March 30th, 2024, your I-94, your tourist stay has expired, and now it's been more than 6 months, but less than a year, and you leave for the Philippines. You're subject to the 3-year bar. That means you cannot come back for 3 years. Okay, if there was a legal means for you to come back, you have to wait until after 3 years. Okay, if you've been unlawfully present for more than 1 year and you leave, then you cannot come back for 10 years. So many of those who have overstayed, a lot of our Filipino kababayan, if they have overstayed more than 1 year and they leave, they can't come back for 10 years. Of course, with the law, there's always exceptions. There's always forgiveness. So this one, there is forgiveness for the 3 and 10-year bar. That's a waiver. There's a waiver of the 3 and 10-year bars. So these bars can be waived if you can show that there will be extreme hardship on your permanent resident or U.S. citizen spouse or parents. So if you're married to a U.S. citizen, number one, if you're overstay and you married a U.S. citizen, this does not, as long as you haven't left, as long as you don't leave, it doesn't matter. Marriage to a U.S. citizen, if you entered legally, it doesn't matter that you have overstayed your visa, and it doesn't matter that you worked without authorization. So this is, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, this is one thing that you can do now. Perhaps you have been waiting to consider how serious you are about your relationship. But if you know that you're already there, you're serious about your relationship, and you do want to get married, that it's advisable that you get married soon, because otherwise, if the spouse goes back, they're subject to the 10-year bar. They go through the longer process. So somebody who entered legally, even if they're overstayed, married a US citizen can apply for adjustment of status. Also, parents who entered and overstayed who have a US citizen child can be petitioned by that child. That's a green card application right there. So that's a couple of the quicker ways to adjust status and to get status in the United States, given the circumstances, the urgency that people are feeling with the change in administration. There are several avenues to permanent resident status in the United States. The main one that we as Filipinos use, syempre sa family, pag may kapatid na US citizen, pwedeng i-petition yung kapatid niya. Pag mga anak, kung US citizen yung parents, tapos yung mga anak adult na o kaya may asawa na may asawa, pwedeng i-petition. So family petition is one of the biggest avenues to permanent residency for us Filipinos. The second one, as we saw earlier, was a 1/4 of the Filipinos who come through employment petition. Ayan ang mga nurse. So the way I got here was my mom was a nurse, so she was petitioned by the hospital that she worked for, and she was able to bring us because of that. People can bring their family members sa green card din. So pag ang employer nagpetition ng worker abroad para sa green card, kasama as derivative yung family, asawa at saka children under 21. Marami kaming ginagawang ganyan para sa mga iba't ibang professions, iba't ibang types of work, nurses, caregivers, truck drivers, managers, cooks. Tapos yung asylee and refugees, after they are allowed in, after they get asylee status, or they were admitted as refugees, they can then apply for a green card. Then there's a special immigrant juvenile status. That is for children who enter the United States, maybe without status, some of the kids who were unaccompanied minors, as long as a juvenile court can determine that they have been declared abandoned, abused, or neglected, and they are given to somebody's care as a guardian for them, they can apply for, this is an avenue for a green card. NACARA is an old law for Nicaragua and Central America. VAWA, okay, everybody pay attention. VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act, okay? It allows an abused spouse of a US citizen, spouse, parent, or child of a US citizen to self-petition for their status if the US citizen is abusive. Okay, a lot of times when there's domestic abuse, one of the things that the abuser uses to control the immigrant is to not do anything, not file for their legal immigration status. So VAWA is something that is available to some of our Filipino kababayan kasi sometimes hindi nila alam na andyan pala yan. So usually with abused relatives, they are isolated, they're controlled, maybe they don't drive. Usually they get to know about their rights through a friend from church or friend from an organization. That's why it's important for us to have our Filipino organizations kasi nakakatulong tayo sa isa't isa, And then there is the U visa. Okay, the U visa is for victims of certain violent crimes, such as sexual assault, felonious assault, when somebody, robs you with a gun or tries to hit you with a weapon. Those are violent crimes. Domestic violence is one of the most common U visa crimes that we see. With a U visa, you have to be the victim of a crime. You must have a police report where it lists you as a victim. the police, the law enforcement agency, or the prosecutor has to sign this certification. It's a form that says she was a victim of domestic violence, for example, and she was helpful in the investigation and prosecution of the crime or prosecution of the crime. So with a U visa, it's important that people come out and report crimes committed against them. I know that many people are afraid because they think that I don't have status. If I call the police, they're gonna check my status and find out that I don't have status, therefore they'll deport me. But with a U visa, for example, if it's a husband, let's say it's a husband of a US citizen, let's say the US citizen is the American, the wife, and the husband is being abused. Well, that's VAWA, sorry. Let's talk about two people who don't have status. The perpetrator does not have status either. Then, you should call the police. People should call the police and report and, show that you were the victim. This requires that you show that you have suffered substantial harm from that crime. But anyway, these are the U visa is one of the things that we are able to use, especially for people who came without inspection across the United States, because the U visa is golden in a sense that it also allows for forgiveness of certain immigration violations or crimes. So talk to an attorney if you have been the victim of a violent crime. Find out if you're eligible for a U visa. So the new administration's plans are mass deportations, more detention camps, ending catch and release policy under Biden, and not allowing people to seek asylum at the port of entry. So, okay, let's break that down. So mass deportations, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. People still have rights, but the government has says that Trump administration, of course, this is a law. Okay, there are priorities for people who are to be removed. Okay, the people who commit crimes. Okay, I think I heard an estimate, it's like over 800,000. These are people who have been convicted of crimes. Number one, we have a law that says you're not admissible to the United States if you've committed this, this, and this type of crime. Okay, so that's the law. That's always been the law. And we are prioritizing the deportation of people who have been convicted of those crimes. They're not admissible and they're deportable for the particular types of crimes that they are. And then we have people who have prior removal orders, and they estimate that's over 1 million. So for people who have had prior removal orders, they've had a deportation order before, they need to talk to an attorney to see what can be done. Sometimes these individuals have US citizen spouses and children, and they need to figure out what they can do. And there are defenses to deportation. We have this ability to reopen a case. We call it motion to reopen. It's like a surgery, you open an old wound because something new has come up. So you're saying, I'm reopening my deportation order because now I'm married to a US citizen, or my child is already 21 and can petition for me or has petitioned for me. So more detention camps are planning to do at the border. Right now, what happens is when a criminal gets, an immigrant gets convicted, they get taken by ICE to different detention places. They could be moved to a different state, but they're planning to do detention camps to have centralized processing in Texas. And the catch and release policy, what it is people enter the border and they say, oh, I'm claiming asylum. And what the border officials do is you say, okay, I'm serving you with these papers and just go talk to the judge, they get to serve with a notice to appear before an immigration judge so that they can plead their case before the judge. But what happens is then they get released into the public, they get released, and it could be years before the hearing could be held. And so that is something that has contributed to the undocumented being able to live here. And people who are seeking asylum, so typically somebody goes to the border port of entry and apply for asylum. Well, they don't want that. They want the people to apply for asylum outside the United States. So this would be in Mexico, okay, placing that burden for applying for asylum in Mexico, and the burden on the Mexican government too, because they have to house these people. These people are in shelters at the border. So more on the plan. Ending birthright citizenship. I don't know if that's likely to happen. So when somebody is born in the United States, they are automatically US citizens. That is the law. And that's something that we know Trump tried to get rid of before, and he'll probably try to get rid of it again. Then there is denaturalization, denaturalizing certain naturalized citizens. Okay, so this does not apply to all citizens. You know, many citizens are naturalized, right? But there are some people who lied in their green card application and then in the citizenship application, and therefore it's invalid. They could get their naturalization taken away if the government finds out that they lied, that it's all based on a lie of one sort or another. And sometimes with people who join the military based on joined military, became citizens, but then they were dishonorably discharged or, committed some serious crimes, and they take that away. They can. Ending TPS for certain countries. TPS stands for Temporary Protected TPS status. Temporary protected status. So some countries where it's really dangerous, there's no way that if we return them, they're likely to be hurt. Venezuela, Haiti, and that's why we have TPS for those countries. And now, by the way, they announced TPS for Lebanon. So these are for people who may be here on student visas or tourist visas, and all of a sudden, oh no, they can't go back to their home countries. It's too dangerous. They will likely die. So President Trump had tried to get rid of that before, and he'll probably try to get rid of it again. And then reinstating travel bans on Muslim majority countries. So he tried to do that before, claiming that the people from these countries, these are like terrorist countries for security reasons, was his reason. And then he tried to do a second version that was less obviously discriminatory, but we can expect that. And then continuing to build a border wall, of course. So, number one, if you have a criminal record, you have to consult with an immigration attorney. You have to talk to an attorney about your situation, or else you are priority for deportation. How do we prepare for the new administration? Okay. Talk to your lawyer about your situation. You need to make a plan. You need to strategize. Request your records from the FBI if you have certain crimes, USCIS and the Office of Biometrics and Immigration. I think OBIM, I forgot, Office of Biometrics. And you need to know what the government knows, okay? You need to know what the government sees in your records. Is there something that could prevent you or subject you to deportation that you didn't know about? Sometimes, this happened a lot in California. People would apply for asylum using an attorney or a notario. knowing that they don't really have an asylum claim. They just wanted to get that work permit while the asylum is pending. And then the hearing comes up and they don't know anything about it. The notario doesn't tell them, or even some attorneys would say, well, just don't show up. That turns into an in absentia deportation order. A deportation in your absence. You didn't know about it, or you knew about it, but you didn't go because you know you don't have an asylum case. So you need to find out if you have anything like that, because this is how you can strategize and figure out what you can do. Number 4, be aware that the government, sorry, there's a typo there, that the government has more ability to deport immigrants within 50 miles of US borders and at airports. So yeah, if you're in, what's that, El Paso, if you're in San Diego near the port of entry, San Isidro, yeah, if the government sees that, oh, well, you don't have status, I can it's called expedited removal. They can deport you right away. They can send you back. So know your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Okay, you can say, sorry, officer, I prefer to remain silent. So when you're stopped by the police, okay, what usually a traffic stop, right? You have to give them your driver's license. You have to give them your registration. You have to tell them, give them your identity. But if they start to ask, what's your status here? And what are you doing? So you can start to say that, I'm sorry, officer, I prefer to remain silent. I would like to speak to an attorney before I tell you anything. My attorney can explain. I don't have to tell you I know it's intimidating, but just say my attorney, I need to talk to my attorney first before I tell you anything. You have, however, if the police smells marijuana in your car, that gives them reasonable suspicion that there's marijuana in the car. So, okay, that's this other thing about immigrants, especially the youth. I would like to warn the young people, usually at the age of 19, they grew up here, maybe they're DACA. They think, they have all these American friends and they think they're US citizens. No, you don't have the same right as a US citizen. Finding marijuana, finding any sort of controlled substance in your car, being convicted of anything with controlled substance, that's a deportable offense. Okay, it's not the same. Americans can get away with, your American friends, young people, can get away with things that you cannot. Okay, you do have a right to challenge unlawful arrest. Sometimes the arrest is not done properly, then you can challenge that. You have a right to suppress evidence that is unlawfully obtained. Same thing. If they obtained it unlawfully, did not have reason to believe probable cause, then you can challenge that. The ACLU website has a lot of information and resources. And so I recommend that you look at the ACLU website and just look, there's a lot of videos out there done by attorneys on what to do if you're stopped by the police or immigration or ICE. So DACA recipients, are we out of time? No. 1:30?
It's 1:46.
It's 1:46. Okay. I said that we would go until 1:30, but we started late. Anyway, I'll go fast and then we would like an opportunity for people to ask questions. What we'll do is we want you to send the questions directly to me and not the entire group, so we can keep it private and confidential, okay? So DACA recipients and TPS holders to get emergency advance parole. Oh no, we said 1 to 2:30. We're fine. Okay. So DACA recipients, we saw earlier, we have so many Filipino DACA recipients. Try to get emergency, this is for people who entered without a visa, okay? If they get emergency advance parole, okay, people with TPS. Okay, so let me backtrack there. Advance parole is permission in advance to be let in legally. So people who cross the border, if they have DACA, they came in without permission, correct? But by asking for advance parole, if they have DACA or if they have TPS, it's as though, and the government grants it, they get this piece of paper that allows them to be able to return legally. And what that does is when you have a legal entry, remember, if you're married to a US citizen and you entered legally, you can apply for a green card here. So if, for example, they have a US citizen child and they were able to enter legally, they can apply for a green card here. If you're married to a US citizen, talk to your lawyer now. So what we're doing with our DACA recipient clients is, and they're married to US citizen, but they cross the border, we're telling them, go take emergency advance parole. You have to have a reason for the emergency. If grandma is sick, a lot of times, we have a sick older relative that they need to visit. Or, yeah, usually it's that. Some a grandma, an aunt, father, who they need to visit in an emergency because grandma is dying, okay? And so they are allowed to leave and come back legally. And because they're married to a US citizen, they can apply for a green card here, okay, without having to leave, without having to ask for forgiveness of the unlawful presence. If you have an application, you can file now. Do not delay because processing times and processing could change. If you have a DACA work permit and it's expiring soon, even not soon, just renew now. Usually it's 6 months before expiration date. Just renew now. If you have a temporary work permit, you can start a business so you're not dependent on an employer. If you fall in between, right? You can still continue working because you have your work permit, you had your work permit, good social, and you still have the opportunity to earn money and support yourself. If you are in the US with a valid visa, make sure you comply with the terms of your visa. It will be harder to renew after January 20th. So if you're a tourist and your I-94 says you have to leave by January 31st, you should leave before January 31st or by January 31st. Do not violate the terms of your visa. There are people who can change status. For example, there are people who have J1 visas and the J1 is expiring. They could switch to student visa or tourist visa. That's possible. But you have to do it before the end of the expiration of your visa, change of status. If you have a pending case, for example, asylum or U visa, find out if you can push your case, if you can get it expedited. They don't really expedite, but see what you can do. Make sure you have done everything to make your case strong. If you have a consular processing application pending, work on getting back to the US now. Some people are doing their interviews abroad. Just come back, don't stay out too long. Just come back within the time allowed. Processing delays will get worse. So this is what happened in my experience. What happened when people knew that Trump was coming way back in 2016, okay? A lot of people, the big influx started on immigration applications. I've been practicing for 24 years, as I mentioned. Before, things usually like a green card application only took three to 6 months, okay? And now some applications have taken 2 years. This year has been good. Our green card applications have been approved within a few months. But yes, processing delays will get worse because there'll be more people applying where they didn't feel the urgency to apply before. Okay. If you're undocumented, so this is not the Filipinos who are overstay. You need to find out about your options. You need to do a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Under the Freedom of Information Act, you have a right to access your records that the government has, either with the Immigration Court, USCIS, or the courts, FBI. You have to know, do I even have an outstanding order of deportation? Am I under immigration's radar in any way? Do I have any immigration options? Do I have a plan? This is something that you will discuss with an immigration lawyer. There are defenses to deportation. One of them is cancellation of removal. Cancellation of removal, this is for people who have been here more than 10 years. They have a US citizen, spouse, parent, or child, and they have to show that their US citizen, spouse, parent, or child children will suffer exceptional and extremely unusual hardship if they were to be deported. And they have to show that they have good moral character, that they don't have crimes that are deportable or inadmissible. But I'm just telling you these things because, to be aware and to make your friends aware that there are things that they can do. There's also vowel cancellation of removal. So remember that abused spouse who hasn't done anything, maybe cross the border, right? Cross the border, but's married to a US citizen who's abusive. This is another defense to deportation. It's vowel cancellation of removal. It has different eligibility categories, but I don't need to get into that here. If you're currently in deportation proceedings, ask for prosecutorial discretion. It's like they ask them to drop your case, just let you go and allow you to do something else. This has been hard to get, but I think the attorneys for DHS, they're trying to streamline this process now, knowing that some people could use it and knowing that things will change a lot in the next couple months. Avoid scams. Okay. Talk to a lawyer that someone has recommended to you. It's better that it's better that somebody has already used that lawyer's services, that you know that that person is trustworthy, because yeah, you know that not all lawyers are trustworthy, and some lawyers are just out to get your money. So you have to be very careful. I know I shouldn't say that about my people in my profession, but it happens, right? And do not go to a notario. Okay, a notario, so this is for Latin Americans, because in Latin America, a notario is typically an attorney as well. In the United States, a notario is just somebody who can notarize a document. They have the stamp, they've gotten the permission to be notarizing documents, authenticating documents, but that doesn't mean that they are lawyers or that they have the ability to advise you properly according to what you need. Okay, stay tuned to the reliable news outlets. There's always, there's a lot of good news outlets. Please discern the lies from the truth by listening to different news outlets and determining which are truthful. Also, the immigration has a website, USCIS.gov, USCIS.gov. You will find a lot of information there, and that is the government's website. That is the source of the US laws, immigration laws. If you're a green card holder and you know you're eligible for naturalization, apply now. When is somebody eligible for naturalization? So if you got your green card through marriage to your US citizen spouse, you can apply for citizenship in 3 years, 3 years from the time your green card was issued. If you got it in other ways, asylum, it's 5 years, or through an employer, you have to wait 5 years. Exactly 90 days before the 5 years is the earliest you can submit your citizenship application. This year, 2024, is only taken about 5 to 6 months for citizenship to be approved. That means from the time they submitted the application to the time of the interview. And then the oath taking is another 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. But if you are a green card holder, you can apply for spouse and children. Avoid violating laws that could make you lose your green card. So this is what I was mentioning about, certain, well, DACA recipients and, young people who think they can do things like do drugs. You can't do drugs. You can lose your green card if you get caught with drug convictions. If you're a green card holder, don't leave the United States for more than, for more than 180 days. Okay, oops. Sorry, let me go back. Don't leave the United States for too long, because you can still lose your, you could be deemed to have abandoned your residency status. Am I back on the screen? Okay. And renew your expiring green card now. So you're supposed to renew 6 months before it expires. And if you're going to renew it, you know what? That means you've been here more than 10 years or 10 years already. So just apply for citizenship. But you should renew the green card first before it expires, and then apply for citizenship. Okay, so if you're a U.S. citizen, file now. Apply for your spouse, sons, daughters, parents, and siblings now. If you're thinking about filing a case, file now before any change in policy or regulation. Okay, this is what I want everybody to remember. So Congress has plenary power over immigration law. Immigration law is supposed to be made by Congress. Many laws will remain in place. We saw the Constitution and a lot of the immigration laws. Okay, the president can make executive orders, but his orders must still comply with existing laws and the Constitution. And the courts can invalidate the president's policies if they violate existing laws and the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing. What I'm going to do is, we have a few participants here. We can start fielding questions. It's 2:00. We have half an hour if people want to ask questions.
Attorney
Okay, so
Marlene, can you
yes.
hear me? This is Charmel from Napa, Arizona. Hi.
Hi,
So,
madam.
in our call, we have our honorary consul from Nevada, Amy
Oh,
Belmonte.
wonderful.
Yes, and we also have the national president, of course, of NAFA, Mariela Fletcher.
Oh, thank you. Thank
So
you for
they're
joining
all,
us.
yeah, they're all here in the call, so they could really give us inputs as well. Thank you
Oh,
and
that would be
welcome.
great. That would be great. So I have a question. I see question. You please direct the questions directly to me so I can just read them without disclosing your identity. This question is, this is a J1 visa holder. She's a teacher, second year of teaching, and got married to a US citizen. So you probably have a J1. Usually teachers have the 2-year residency restriction on your visa. If you don't, then you get married to a US citizen, fine. It's a straightforward green card application without having to leave the United States. But for many of our J1 visa holders who are teachers, they have what is called the 2-year residence restriction. meaning that once they finish their term as a J1 visa holder, they are required to live outside go back to the Philippines for 2 years before being able to apply for green card here and come back and apply for green card here. There is a waiver for that 2-year restriction, the 2-year residency requirement. There are three different ways you can get that waived. The first one is you have to establish extraordinary hardship to your US citizen spouse. And I've done that a few times. We were able to establish not just for Filipinos, but other countries also, extraordinary hardship on their US citizen spouse and child. And so you can apply for that as you are applying for your green card. Okay, you apply for number one, the petition by the spouse, and second application, green card application. Third is the waiver, I-612 waiver, but you're also applying for the waiver with the Department of State. It's called DS 3035. Those are all in conjunction with one another. So the last one is the work permit, okay? The work permit while you're waiting for your green card. So what happens is it takes a while for immigration to decide that waiver for the 2-year residence requirement. It could take a couple of years, but in the meantime, you have your work permit while you're waiting for that waiver. And the other way is to get a no objection letter from the embassy, from the Philippine embassy. But I understand, I've had a client come and did not, the Philippine embassy is not giving out these no objection letters. So the government can say, oh, I don't object to my Filipino constituent to be able to waive, to get rid of that 2-year. She doesn't have to go back to the Philippines for 2 years. We don't object. But that happens in sometimes. I've never seen it happen with the Philippine government. I've seen it happen with some European countries like Italy. I've recently seen it be issued from the Thai consulate, the Royal Thai Embassy in DC. They issued a letter saying, oh, we don't object to her getting rid of that 2-year requirement. She doesn't have to go back. She can go ahead and proceed with her green card application based on her husband. Okay. The other way, the other ground for a waiver is if you fear persecution in your home country. So right now, the Philippines is pretty safe. But for example, Venezuela or right now, things are brewing a lot in Myanmar and Burma, that they cannot go back to their home countries. It wouldn't be safe. They will be facing persecution. Okay, so we have another J1. We do have a lot of J1 visa holders here. And so it's very important for them to know their rights and what they can do. So another person, J1, came February last year. Spouse is a green card holder, came the year before. They got married. Then her visa had expired. They already filed the I-130 by the spouse, and they're just waiting for the priority date. The next step is for your green card application. In that case, so her husband is a green card holder, but green card holder, I think if the priority date is up, great. But if not, then your husband should apply for citizenship right away, because being out of status and you're married to a green card holder, you have to apply for the waiver. Remember, it's only if you're married to a US citizen that it doesn't matter that that you've overstayed, that you have worked without authorization. But if your spouse is a green card holder, then the priority date is up, you can still apply, but you have to apply for the forgiveness. More likely than not, even before the forgiveness is decided, your husband would already be eligible for citizenship or already have gotten the citizenship, then it will be upgraded. If the visa is not yet available, you're not eligible to apply for a green card, a work permit. The visa has to be immediately available. Okay, so yeah, that question is, what will be the next step for a green card application while waiting for her husband's citizenship? If you're, well, if the visa is available, then yeah, you can apply for a green card, but you have to apply for the waiver unless your husband's already a citizen. So just wait till your husband's a citizen. You can get the work permit. And, you can also apply for the work permit. Okay, so we have a couple of hands raised here. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. We have somebody with a question. I'll look in the chat and see. Somebody has their hand raised. You want to type your question in the chat? Open 3. I answered live. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I see somebody with their hand raised, but I'm not that. Would you mind typing your question? Let's see. Did you want to talk? The person with your hand raised? Okay, go ahead. Okay, I see. Okay. Another caller, another viewer applied for citizenship. Green card was extended, will expire July 2025. Just wait. You can just wait for your citizenship to be processed. The green card extension will expire on July 2025. Did you apply for the green card replacement already, the new green card, a renewal? I can't tell, but citizenship, as long as you've applied for your citizenship, you just wait. It's going to be hopefully 5 months, how it's been taking us here in Utah, about 5 to 6 months. And as long as you've submitted your green card application, your extension, you're fine. No need to worry. Okay. Okay, general question. Okay, this is another one. Is it possible to apply for the waiver soon or wait till my visa is up? When you apply for a green card, that's when you apply for the waiver. See. Did you want to ask a question? I think we saw somebody whose hand is raised. We'll feel free to talk. Go ahead. Perfecto. Did I have any? Go ahead. I think perfecto. If you want to talk, feel free to talk. Okay, we have a question. A general question. So most people who have overstayed have decent jobs and may not have a lot of money for lawyers. Would you suggest that in case they are caught, yes, they need to connect with our Philippine embassy. So the embassies have a lot of resources. Sometimes they have also lawyers that work with them that they help. They also help repatriate people. They help people arrange to go back to their home countries. And so that is another resource, especially because they are here to protect the rights of the Filipinos in the US. Okay. There are also nonprofit organizations you can talk to look for nonprofit organizations that could give low cost services. Of course, they're busy right now. Everybody's busy right now. But yes, sometimes all it might take is one consultation for you to figure out your strategy, your plan, if there really isn't anything else you can do. But remember, it's your life here. And as a callers or the viewer says, they have good jobs here. So it's not something that you should easily give up if there are avenues available for you to establish status in the United States. Okay. Is there procedure in place in cases like this? We should talk to Madam President of NAFA, Miss Mariella Fletcher. We should talk to the US and the Philippine Embassy and ask them, other than telling people they should just fly home, ask them if there's some kind of process that we can do to help people figure out and help them maybe buy some time in order for them to if they have to leave, in order for them to get their affairs in order. Okay, somebody's asking, can I upgrade from B1, B2 to immigrant? Yes, you can change status from tourist, but to an immigrant visa usually takes a long time. If it's for family members, yeah, you can get from B2 to as an immediate relative, a US, if you're married to a US citizen, yes. But the immigrant visa for workers, for example, could take up to 3 years. You can change from B2 to H1B, depending on your field. You can change from B2 to student visa, and then later on to an immigrant type visa. I'm a J1 teacher. It's my 4th year now. But the school district decided to terminate their contract. They're no longer renewing on the 5th year. What are benefits that we could demand to our district or agency that we are performing well in our job? See if you can get transferred but you're only up to your 5th year on 5 years on your J1 visa. But that's something that maybe they can ask you, they can have you transfer. I want to go back to the question about the tourist visa to immigrant visa. As I mentioned, there are different ways available to get immigrant visa, mainly through family member, employment. If you have like those U visa, asylum, like I said, it's not so much applicable for us in the Philippines. But yeah, other than marrying a US citizen, it's hard. It's a wait because you have to wait for the visas to become available. Okay, well, it's 2:18. Have I answered everybody's questions? Okay, let's see. We have another one here. G1 out of status. Oh, the DS 2019 is what counts. Can we file for a waiver of hardship for health reasons? What application should we apply for the immigration? So you can apply for, if you're applying for an immediate relative, if you're applying as a spouse of a US citizen, yeah, you can stay, you can apply for the hardship waiver, but you're not out of status if your DS 2019 is extended. The visa should also be, it depends on the DS 2019. Yeah, so there's nothing you need to do, but just wait until your DS 2019 expires, and then at which point then you need to work on something else, leave. Next, is it possible to apply for an H-1B visa while in a J-1 with 212? I think so. It's a H-1B is it's also a non-immigrant visa. So it's not like you're staying. It's not like you're staying, you're just asking for another visa. But I don't work as much with H-1Bs, so I believe it's possible. But that's something that you can talk to a lawyer about, okay? Okay, so okay, our president, Mariella Fletcher, is just extending her thank you for doing this. Thank you. And yeah, it's important that we know our rights and we don't just leave the country just like that without finding out, because you don't know until you really investigate your situation. Okay. Not married to a US citizen. The J1 visa holder is not married to a US citizen, but married. So no, you can't really, you have to change status to something else to adjust status in order to apply for that waiver. Okay. Alrighty, so my information again, I think it's on Facebook too. I'm Attorney Marlene Gonzalez. Our law firm is US Journey Immigration Services. Our website is it's www.us-journey.com. Okay, I guess we can, if nobody else asking questions, are we good to go? I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much. Thank you for attending this webinar. We will have it recorded, and it will be available on recording. And thank you very much, Madame Charmel de la Cruz, our
You're welcome,
NAFA.
madam. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Have a good day, everybody.
God bless everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, wait, Jess. Did you have a question, Jess? All right. Well, you can call me Jess. Jess has my number. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.